Today, on Florida Sportsman Project Dreamboat. At MCU, the 12-foot Boston Whaler project is finally ready for its surprise unveiling to Brian's 3 daughters.
They have no idea about this thing. I've done a really good job of hiding this boat. There are so many boats getting worked on at this shop, the kids have no idea that this boat was going to be theirs.
And Florida Sportsman boating editor George Labonte sits down with Brian O'Donnell, owner of Marine Customs Unlimited, to revisit some of the most memorable builds and restorations from this season of Project Dreamboat.
All right, so if you guys remember last week I introduced this 12-foot Whaler that I bought for my 3 girls. This boat was really rough when I got it and it came out awesome. It's all wrapped up, all these cool new features are all finished. The boat really looks incredible. I can't wait to show these girls. So I had my wife bring the kids by the shop so I could reveal the boat to them. They have no idea about this thing. I've done a really good job of hiding this boat. There are so many boats getting worked on at this shop. The kids have no idea that this boat was going to be theirs. All right, guys, I got a surprise for you behind this boat. I'm going to have Scott move this thing out of the way, and I want to see what happens. You ready? Hey, Scotty, move that boat.
Whoa! It's amazing!
So when I pulled that big boat out of the way and it revealed that little 12-foot Whaler, the girls couldn't believe it. They actually took off. They ran right to it. These kids realized this boat just got completely rebuilt and customized just for them. They saw the name of the big boat engraved on top of the dash by the little GPS I put in. It's actually Tender 2, the Special Ks. The Special Ks stands for my 3 daughters, Kylie, Caitlin, and Kelly. When they saw that in the sea deck, Kelly couldn't believe it. She was really stoked. The girls are really digging this boat, but no one wants to be on a boat on a trailer. They're begging me to take them down in the water and splash the boat. I've got a bigger surprise for them, and I can't wait to reveal it to them. So we got the boat out on the water, and I was letting the girls take turns driving it around. They couldn't believe they were on their own little boat. This was a really cool feeling to see them so excited, but it didn't last long. They were ready to go fast. They wanted to take off. I had to take the wheel so I could teach them and show them how to run the boat properly at a faster speed. I was reminiscing a little bit sitting behind that wheel, running that little Whaler, but it was a lot different than my old Whaler. My old Whaler had a 2-stroke on it and it was noisy as can be. This boat, you don't even know the engine's back there and it's literally a foot away from you. The thing is so quiet. This little fuel-injected 4-stroke 40 was an incredible engine. I think that really made the boat. So I saw a friend of mine out on the water and I had the girls pull up to his boat so I could dock up along the side of it. I wanted to see how these bumpers work. Let me tell you, they worked incredible. I couldn't believe how easy the girls were able to pull up to the side of the boat and I didn't have to worry about them banging into it or scratching anything. So as the girls were running around the beach, I yelled over at Kylie and I asked her to go down and try that Armstrong ladder out. She ran right down to the water, undid the latch, slid the ladder out like she'd done it 100 times. She climbed right up into the boat. It was incredible how simple and easy it was for her to do it. That's the first time she ever operated that ladder. I was totally impressed with that Armstrong ladder. The concealment of it, sitting on the side of the boat, enclosed, you don't even know that it's there. You just see this nice piece of stainless trim. This is definitely a one of a kind. The girls are really gonna love this boat. So as the day came to an end, it was time to reveal the big surprise. I told Kylie to reach down and press the underwater light switch. They looked out underneath the boat, they couldn't believe it. This thing was changing colors, it was super bright. I put 6 Lumitech Sea Blaze Spectrum lights on the bottom of this boat. There's actually 2 in the front, 2 on the sides, and 2 in the back. This thing was incredible how it lit up. So after a couple of moments of the girls checking out the underwater lights while we're sitting there idling, I was excited to see these things and how they were gonna perform after I built those custom shrouds. I got behind the wheel and I took off. It was like a UFO shooting across the water with all these color-changing underwater lights. The boat looked incredible and it performed just the way I thought it would. So after an awesome evening out on the boat, I really had a good time seeing my girls totally excited about their new boat. I can't wait to see them play with this thing and enjoy it. And I know what's gonna happen. Before I know it, they're gonna grow out of this boat and it's gonna be time for a newer, bigger one. But I got news for you. The next one, they're gonna help build it. They're gonna get an old boat, it's gonna get into the shop, and they're gonna put their hands in elbow grease and help me build their new dream boat.
When we return, Florida Sportsman boating editor George Labonte sits down with Brian O'Donnell, owner of Marine Customs Unlimited, to revisit some of the most memorable MCU builds from this season of Project Dreamboat. This segment brought to you by Power Pole, swift, silent, secure. Welcome back to Florida Sportsman Project Dreamboat. Join us as FS boating editor George Labonte sits down with Brian O'Donnell, owner of Marine Customs Unlimited, to revisit some of the most memorable MCU builds from this season of Project Dreamboat.
Well, Brian, this wraps up another season for Project Dreamboat, and I can't believe it's taken me this long to get here and see your shop. How's it going?
George, it's nice to meet you, man. What do you think about all these people's Project Dreamboats?
You know what, it's been really cool watching other people build their boats, but what I want to start with here is this is my first time to your shop, and you've got so many cool projects going on. You've had some great ones on the show. Let's talk about those a little bit. Tell me a little bit about that 32 Seacraft, man. That thing went from last season into this season. That was a big job.
It was quite the project. It was pretty epic. Tyler gave me the opportunity to do whatever I wanted on that boat. There were things like this ladder I've been wanting to do for a long time. He gave me the opportunity to literally mount a ladder in the bow of the boat. I went to my friends over at Armstrong. They came out with a new ladder that they designed that they could put on the pontoon boats and put out the bow of the boat. I came up with the idea, well, why not do it to a 32-foot boat? Now, outside of that, he wanted to be able to go out with his son, go diving and fishing, and I thought it'd be awesome to have a dive door on the side of the boat. It was a really cool thing. I really enjoyed doing that.
Yeah, Brian, you know what? I loved the dive door with the cooler right there. I mean, that makes that boat the ultimate, even though it's an offshore fishing boat, great sandbar machine. I mean, to swim up to the boat, get inside a cooler there and get yourself a cold drink and board from the front of the boat, that was really slick.
George, not only the cool features we did for the sandbar, but the performance of the boat. When we enclosed the transom, installed that Armstrong bracket, the Yamaha outboards, this is the first 32 Seacraft I've ever done with the new 300s, and I love the performance of this boat.
You know what, Brian, in addition to the performance, I mean, that boat looked awesome. And something I noticed you do here a lot, I mean, your custom paint work, you do a lot of tricky stuff too. I mean, that backlit dash panel, I mean, just little tweaking things like that that makes just a giant difference in the end result. That boat looks sweet. A lot of people bring boats in because they want to build some kind of a cool boat. You know, other times you've got a sentimental reason to have your boat redone. Tell me a little bit about that 18-foot whaler. That was a cool project.
All right, so Michelle came into the shop. She had seen a television show. Her husband and her son were thinking about getting a new boat. They had an old beat-up Outrage whaler. They've had it for a long time. It just was getting tired. The thing was on a lift. It basically sank on the lift. Bilge pump didn't come on, thing filled up with water. It was time to replace the fuel tank. They had repowered the boat a couple of years ago, but the boat was just deteriorating from there. We came up with some really cool ideas. I mean, we cut a bilge into the back of this whaler, but it allowed us the ability to put a through-hull transducer, to put a bilge pump in the boat with a float switch now. We took some of the removable panels away, we made them solid. We recessed the speakers in this boat. She got a new console put in the boat, so it doesn't even feel like the same boat anymore. In fact, Michelle told me when she took this boat out for the first couple of times, her friends came out with her and they didn't believe it was the same boat.
You know, Brian, it was really cool seeing somebody willing to take on a project like that and do all those really custom touches that you did to that boat. Occasionally you're going to get somebody that's going to come in here and need a job done on the boat, but they don't really know what they're getting into. What's going on with the Shamrock here? I mean, somebody came in and I remember the budget they were looking at to repower that thing. What happened there? I mean, that thing came out unbelievable.
Well, George, Dave came into the shop with the idea and thought of watching a show that he could just go buy an old boat and get it renovated and fixed up with a little bit of money. I brought him to the reality that that wasn't going to happen. The first day here, I told him that he was probably going to need an engine, and the engine was probably going to eat up his whole budget. At the end of the day, he spent a lot more than he was expecting, but I think he got a lot more than he ever expected.
Brian, you know, one thing that jumped out at me about that boat, and something you don't see a lot of, but it really worked for that boat because it almost had that kind of New England-y look, is that flag blue paint job. I mean, you don't see a lot of that down here.
Dave was all about doing something original and classic. I threw the off-white two-tone non-skid idea at him with maybe a little bit of teak in the boat and a dark blue hull. He was all about it. That all-grip flag blue set that boat off. And you know, we definitely probably went a little overboard with the horsepower. And with those Bennett trim tabs, with the indicators on the dash, it allowed you to set the boat where it needed to be and get it there fast. Dave really liked those trim tabs on the dash of that boat.
He should have liked everything about that boat. I'll tell you what, when that boat showed up here, at the beginning of the show, it just looked like another old, kind of banged up old Shamrock. You know, it's always been kind of a cool little boat. When it left here, I mean, that looked like a yacht tender up in Newport, Rhode Island.
No, there's no doubt about it. With those cool touches like the Boca-Tech switches in the dash, the custom engraved panels, the black acrylic, everything tied together, the embroidery and the upholstery, that boat really came out like a top. I'm telling you, Dave, he was off the charts with total satisfaction.
All right, Brian, let's talk about the Dorado episode. Tell me a little bit about that 23.
That boat was pretty awesome. He actually won it in a fishing tournament. I mean, how often does that happen? Now, Al's budget wasn't so large. One of the big items that he just thought right off the bat he was gonna do was repower the boat. I looked at that Yamaha outboard and I was like, why are you gonna repower this boat? I see those engines come in here with thousands of hours, and he barely had that on this one engine. So I told him, let's take the money that you were gonna put into that motor and put it into the boat.
That was another one of those examples where you had to trade one thing for another, and I remember they were gonna paint the boat and then they ended up going with a wrap, but they did save a bunch of money and they ended up going with that really nice new top too.
Well, that was one of the big things. They definitely wanted to get rid of that dual station tower they had, and they wanted more shade on the boat. And that's a huge ticket item on the list. And to be able to save the money not painting the boat and wrapping it and still get that effect of a new boat feel and change the whole look of the boat, the wrap is a really cool way to go. And let me tell you, putting that money towards that top was well worth it. And when you're looking around inside the boat with all that all-grip non-skid we did, everything just looked and made you feel like you were in a brand new boat. Al didn't redo everything. We didn't completely rewire the boat. We didn't completely repaint the boat. But at the end of the day, this thing completely looks like a new boat, and I think his wife really appreciated that.
When we come back, FS Boating editor George Labonte joins Brian O'Donnell, owner of MCU, to discuss their favorite one-man Dreamboat builds from this season of Project Dreamboat. This segment brought to you by Bennett Marine, superior by design.
50 years ago, Bennett Marine changed boating forever, inventing the trim tab, getting you on plane faster, improving fuel efficiency and performance, balancing loads. Today, more than 1 million systems later worldwide, boats all sizes. Bennett Innovation, durable and dependable trim tabs and hatch lifters. Your only source for both hydraulic and electric systems. Bennett Trim Tabs, superior by design, legendary service. Enjoy the ride.
Welcome back to Florida Sportsman Project Dreamboat. Join us as FS Boating editor George Labonte joins Brian O'Donnell, owner of MCU, to discuss their favorite one-man Dreamboat builds from this season of Project Dreamboat.
So George, you were able to watch this season and see all the things I was doing at the shop. Telling me about these cool projects that these people did on their own.
Brian, it's been a great season for me. You know, it's really interesting watching some of these builds that I got to look at. We started out the season down in the Keys with Mark Jakelski, 26-year-old guy. He always wanted to have this 25 CV. This boat was an absolute wreck when he got it, but he really wanted that guide boat. I mean, this was a daunting task for a kid like this who had no boat building experience whatsoever. That boat was gutted completely to the bare hull, was rebuilt from the bottom up. Every single piece of the boat was done new, including all the hardware, top, tower, wiring, new engine, paint, glass work, all this stuff, having no experience building a boat. I was so impressed with how this boat came out, I can't even explain it to you.
What caught my attention was I grew up in the Keys, so I wanted to see this boat and I wanted to see how he did it. He was able to redo that boat, restore it, bring it back to life, and implement some of the really cool new features that you're able to contact a company like Boat Outfitters and install on the boat yourself. He did a really awesome job. I mean, to go all the way from the stringers to the top of the boat, wrapping it all up, rigging the thing out, I mean, to take that job on yourself, that's a pretty cool accomplishment. It's really neat to take the boat out, take your buddies fishing, and let them realize that you built that boat. That's got to be a cool feeling.
You know, Mark's boat came out great, and he had the budget to make it great. Now, not everybody's got that kind of money to put into a build. And one of the boats that I really enjoyed the most this season was the cheerleader boat. Now, this is a boat that 17-year-old girl comes to her dad and says, I want my own boat. And this guy owns a boatyard. They've got all kinds of boats laying around. He says, if you want your own boat, you're going to build it. And they dragged this old relic out of the weeds, and he said, literally, it's time to get dirty, okay? This boat, they did not have a big budget on it. She learned a lot about building boats and probably a lot about life doing this job. But when it was said and done, she had very little money in the boat, but she got exactly what she wanted, got to spend a lot of time with her dad working on it. I mean, it was a cool story.
You know, George, after watching that episode, I was really inspired. I mean, to be a father of 3 daughters and to see that girl up in that boat grinding, fairing out the boat, sanding it, painting it herself, not to mention helping her dad get the engine on the back of the thing. I mean, here's someone who put a boat together with just a couple of $1,000s, and she actually got what she was looking for. She got a little custom boat. It's made the way she wanted it. She got to do it herself. I mean, that's something to really be proud of.
Now, Brian, on the other end of the spectrum, rather than fixing up an old boat or taking a boat and making it new again, we visited with Ren Stanley. Ren's a fishing guide down in Everglades City, fishes Chokoloskee. He knew exactly what he wanted. He wanted a skiff to pull around in there. He had a vision for this boat in his mind. Rather than go hunting for a boat to fix up, he actually built this entire boat from scratch. I mean, starting with a balsa model, built the model, scaled it up, cold molded the boat, and made this entire thing himself, never having done that before either.
Yeah, George, there's no doubt. To watch that episode and see that guy build his own boat from scratch, and to watch that whole thing go through and see the thing finish off, he actually did an awesome job from start right to the finish.
One of the things I really liked about that boat was the spray rail design that he put in there. It was really unique, and that boat was incredibly dry. I mean, it ran like a champ. On the pulling tower, he put a backrest, and the way that boat ran with him laying back up against it and having the tiller right there and putting his feet up was really cool. I thought I'd never seen that before. That was a really neat feature too. When
I saw him sitting back there, it looked like he was as comfortable as standing behind the center console. There's no doubt he definitely perfected that boat and put it exactly to what he wanted.
You know, Brian, another cool boat that I really enjoyed being on was the 24 Caravelle. This is a cool story. Mitch actually went on a gator hunt on Lake Okeechobee and saw this Dargle cat boat. He thought this thing is perfect for what I like to do over in the Gulf of Mexico. It's a really wide, stable, fast, with a tower on it. I mean, it was everything he wanted in a boat. Well, he found a Caravelle pontoon boat and had the vision to take this thing from a pontoon boat to the tower boat that he always wanted to get. And he did the entire build with scrap parts and learned how to do it all watching YouTube videos. How about that?
I saw that he reused an old OX66 Yamaha. You know, talk about a great engine. Those things ran awesome. And to be able to implement that old 2-stroke motor into that big, wide, flat-bottom boat, I could see where all that power came in handy for him. And to be able to build your dream boat out of a bunch of old parts, that's a really cool thing to see. Well, you know, George, one of the coolest builds for me throughout the season was the 20 Seacraft. I mean, that guy did an awesome job rebuilding that boat. Talk about taking it from start to finish and completely rebuilding it and making it look like something that came out of my shop. I mean, he hit the ball out of the park. That thing looked awesome. He cut the shear down on the boat, just completely rebuilt the boat from scratch. That boat looked brand new when it was done.
Yeah, you know, Michael had a background. He's a big boat captain, sport fish captain. He runs a custom boat, actually runs a Garlington. And he really wanted that boat to reflect kind of the lines of the Garlington. So that's where that shear line trim really came in. I mean, the boat looked unlike any 20 Seacraft I've ever seen, but it had custom boat yard, like big sport fish boat appearance written all over it.
And it still had that classic ride of a 20 Seacraft.
Yeah, Michael definitely wanted that ride of the Seacraft, and he wanted to do a little bit of light offshore fishing with the thing and run the beach and stuff too, but he really wanted a bay boat. And, you know, redoing that deck configuration on there, putting that forward and rear casting deck on it, I mean, gave him the bay boat he wanted. He got the Seacraft ride that he wanted, and he got that sport fish boat look that he wanted. I mean, that thing was a sweet boat.
So, you know, George, this is a wrap up to another season of Project Dreamboat, and I can't wait till you see some of these new cool epic builds we got for next year. I mean, we're getting ready to wrap up a couple of really cool projects, and I can't wait till you see these ones.
Sounds great, Brian. I'm really looking forward to seeing them.
When we return, we take a look at the best bloopers and caught-on-camera moments from this season of Project Dreamboat. This segment brought to you by Marine Customs Unlimited. You dream it, we build it.
Fiberglass Florida is a locally owned and operated company with locations in Rockledge and Stuart, Florida. Our knowledgeable staff will help you select from our diverse selection of fiberglass materials by the yard or by the roll. Epoxy, vinyl ester, and polyester resin, as well as high-density core materials. All grip paint in unlimited custom colors. Home to Open Water Concepts, a certified C-Deck fabricator specializing in fully customizable kits to suit your project needs. Fiberglass Florida. Premium products, wholesale prices.
Welcome back to Florida Sportsman Project Dreamboat. Join us as we take a look at the best bloopers and caught on camera moments from this season of Project Dreamboat.
All right, so it's the end to another great season of Project Dreamboat. You know, I really enjoy doing this show. My friends watch it, they tell me that I do a great job. Well, there are a lot of outtakes that not everyone gets to see. It's not always so smooth. I mean, there's a lot of times when you just can't come up with the words to say, and all of a sudden you're going blah, 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 blah. You gotta edit that out. I can't stop doing it.
I think we need to take it.
We gotta take this whole thing from the top. That was like monster wasabi mungy mungy. This is gonna start off like this. I want it to look like. I want to. Is this getting too long for you? Or he's totally excited. I think he was totally taken back. This thing totally. All right, so it might appear that I'm on the struggle bus sometimes, but let me tell you what. This bus is big and there is a lot of passengers.
Welcome back to this season of MCU, My Project Dreamboat.
Bring me your boats.
Move it! Here we are again, waiting on Brian. He really gets into the show. He's over there putting makeup on.
So Brian got me a brand new fuel tank for this boat because the other one was a piece of basically.
That's really good.
Okay, that's it.
So this customer brought me their windshield. It was like broke. Then I fixed it because I made it new.
We need to make sure that we put a nice It's awesome. We're gonna go ahead and use prep all. Oh my God.
Wrap!
That's a take.
Take!
Episode 1.
Beer assistant.
In the books. 12 more to go.
Make sure to join us next season to see the dreams of boat owners come true on Florida Sportsman Project Dreamboat. The filming of Florida Sportsman Project Dreamboat has been shot on location at Marine Customs Unlimited. You dream it, we build it.